Dressing up for an evening on the town, well, can come in different forms, from the exterior you present and, well, the wheels you ride in. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now, this week, we take a little bit of the Italian approach behind the wheel of the 2017 Fiat 124. The 124 Spider brings back a little bit of heritage in the Fiat lineup, basically about 50 years represented here in this vehicle. Now, if it looks a little bit familiar, well, it's kind of made similar to the Mazda Miata. Well, heck, Mazda actually produces it for Fiat, but there are some subtle changes. Now, what I like, of course, is it's a typical roadster. Now, some differences really is it's not going to be a 0 to 60 really go-getter. It's actually more of a cruising mobile when we get into the finer details in a second. Now, what you also notice is, well, the overall design really delivering a little bit of Italian-esque when you look at the modest curves and just a lot of nostalgia across the board. With my 6-foot-plus frame, one thing I want to look at is, well, the numbers. How big is this vehicle, and, well, can I squeeze inside? Now, by the overall numbers, you're looking at about 160 inches. Wheelbase fairly decent at 90 inches, and what you'll notice is actually that rear axle pushed forward just a little bit compared to the Miata, which has very little overhang. This one just a little bit more. Now, as for the overall height, it's going to be, well, somewhat low, about 48 inches, comparable to, well, the minimum height you're going to need to catch a ride at Disney. The Spider is a rear-wheel driven vehicle, and what you're going to notice is decent rubber at the four corners, specifically 205/45s wrapping a 17-inch wheel. Now, those are standard on the middle and upper grade models, with the Classica, the base model, being 16-inch wheels. Now, what you also notice is the vehicle is really low, and that provides, well, a drop and roll for me to get in this vehicle. Lastly is the rear track, just a couple clicks wider here at the back end. Numbers are one thing, but really design is key here. And again, Italian styling, but at the bare minimum, it's a roadster-like appeal. Now, what I like is, well, you look at the back end here, obviously flares out just a little bit, almost like a little shelf here. Reminds you maybe of even a Corvette flaring back here, really looking menacing. Now, the vehicle is totally wrapped in body color all the way around. A little bit of brush accents here and there, really specifically around this front angle, really setting this vehicle off. Body color right down to the mirrors, and as you sweep around, what you'll notice is the Italian-like hood, bubbling effect across here, no plain Jane. Really, that front end, that's where the guerrilla warfare is. To set off this Italian roadster, it starts with the guerrilla warfare, specifically even the headlight assemblies. Now, it's all housed under kind of a protruding bubble glass, bug-eyed like approach, and a dynamic headlights. Now, what I'm referring to is right there in the middle, that projection style bulb, really illuminating long before you get there, but as you sweep into the turns, those headlights are going to go with you. All of it, of course, stylized with a nice rope effect around it, really illuminating, giving that front end as if it has menacing eyes staring at you. Now, as you sweep down, I call this the triple effect. Right there in the middle, the nice turn signal with the fog lights down low. Now, all this combines really for a setting off the front end. Couple that nicely with that central guerrilla warfare. Now, even though this has a throwback nostalgic-like feel, really Italian-esque, and 50 years represented here in the design, nothing here at all is old school. Now, taking the headlights, coupling it nicely again with the grille, what you're going to notice is a very broad but narrow grille. Two-port design, really upper and lower, with a lot of airflow. Also, a lot of lower kick when it comes to the fascia, a little bit of chiseling and a little bit of smoothness. Now, that all combines for, again, a lot of protruding into traffic here. What you're also going to notice is it's a very low stance, which means keep this front end way far away from any curbs. Now, this vehicle isn't just all beauty, it definitely has some brains, and it all starts here at the door, really in the form of ingress. Now, what I'm referring to is the good old smart key system. Now, with a small car comes a small key fob, and I like the fact that it makes it, well, less bulky in your pocket. Now, the way it works here on the Spider is pretty much real easy. Nice single button, you press it one to unlock this door, press it again, unlocks the other side. Now, security on this one's real easy. Two doors, lock it up, forget about it. But one place you definitely want to be mindful is the fill-up area, because anytime you drive up with this candy apple red vehicle, sometimes you may not draw the biggest fans. That way, you definitely want to keep this nice and locked. And what I like is when this vehicle is locked, the fill-up area is definitely locked just the same. Of course, when it's unlocked, you can get in real easily. Now, one thing I wish they would do on a lot of these vehicles is take it to the next level, pretty much getting rid of that cap and go Catholic. One thing that's better about the Fiat version than the Miata is really this back end a little bit longer, which equates to a little bit more cargo room. Now don't get excited because this is not going to be a full-size affair. Now what you're going to notice again with the design is this has a full-size offering when it comes to that front hood and even this rear deck lid. Now what's great is this operation here doesn't invade this area at all. Instead really takes up this one little part. That means you're going to have decent rear cargo for somewhat of a small vehicle. Now what does that equate to on paper? Around about 5 cubic feet. Now it is an electronic release, really allow you to climb inside with these, and all the area is right here in the open. Nothing cavernous, and it pretty much right here where you need it. Besides being able to carry just a few things, there's also some great design back here just the same. Now the front looks good, the side looks great, so it's definitely got to deliver design qualities back here. And where it starts is really in the overall body color back here, decent rear deck lid, and of course you got a nice huge Fiat emblem just the same right in the middle. Now one thing that stands out just a little bit awkward is, well, the dual antennas. This maybe being a throwback, this one, the shark fin, maybe being more current technology. Why we have both, don't understand. What I also like back here is the horizontal rear tail lights. Really dynamic, sweeping across, doesn't come down the fenders too much back here, but pretty much straight back across the side. What I also like is some added safety. First, a backup camera and backup sensors, because after all, very small window here and maybe just a few blind spots. With the amount of front hood you have here, one thing that's great is when you raise it out of the way, you can definitely show off what lies beneath. Now specifically what we have here is a 1.4 liter multi-air inline 4-cylinder engine. All that said, pretty much means 160 horses and 184 foot-pounds of torque. Now one thing to note, if you do step up your model, you can increase that horsepower by a whopping 4, but apparently maybe a little bit more boot, scoot, and boogie, but torque stays the same either way. On a vehicle like this, one problem I see with this 6-foot-plus frame is, well, bending it to climb inside, because it all starts with the height difference between me and the vehicle. Now what it becomes is kind of a back-breaking episode. Once you open the door and try to climb inside, you definitely have to sit on the ground and pretty much roll in. But what I like on a day like this is pretty much dropping the top and then sliding inside, and it's made real easily. Now this vehicle doesn't have a power top, and I don't think it needs one. Instead, real easy manual operation. All I have to do is slightly bend down, reach in here, grab the handle, and pretty much squeeze it, and it unlocks with ease. Then simply one hand, tumble it backwards, get right here, press firmly. Now we're open and ready to step inside. Now with this Roadster design, one thing I like right off the bat is, well, it's not a 2+2, instead straight up 2 seats only, and that's going to be a typical Roadster. No insurance break on this one because, well, there's no fake back seat. Now what you're also going to notice is the kind of Italian-esque feel, really starting with the contrasting brown light leather, really sport seating. And of course you note that if you have a narrow figure, you're going to slide in with ease. Otherwise the bolstering is going to feel just a little squeezing. Now as for leg room numbers, the front is all you got to worry about, around about 43 inches. One thing to note, the reclinability, it's pretty much straight up. Now before we look at the dash, let's look between the seats, and what you're going to notice is a little bit of operation you want to get used to. First off, the glove compartment's actually not on the dash, but moved here between the seats, and I like the fact that it's very cavernous and it is lockable, because you're going to want to be able to put things in here when the top is down. Another thing is this handle, that's your release to bring the roof back up. Now down below is your dual cup holders. Now if you notice when you're driving, that can be kind of in your elbow space, so these are removable when maybe you don't have beverages. What I also like is this one here for the passenger can actually be moved up closer to where their knee is. Now sweeping away from back to front, what you're going to notice is decent elbow support, kind of a padded lid here, actually really shallow storage there if you need it, maybe some gum or whatever you keep when you're going down the road, but it does offer nice elbow support. Now right here is the central knob, which is common on a lot of these upper vehicles, really allowing you to utilize that screen up front, really all with just the turn of a knob, toggle left and right, really nice of ease of use. What you will notice though, with the cup holders in place, you just can't bring that elbow far enough back to position your hand appropriately. So in some cases your hand is actually well past that, but that's just what comes with a Roadster. But all the controls you need to operate it are right here. Now this particular model did have the automatic transmission. Again, I just like to cruise and go. I'm not really into that sport mode, so I dig this quite well because because, well, there wasn't that clutch dance. If you do want to add a little bit more sport, of course, go with the manual. Now, with the Roadster as small as it is, one thing that's great is that, well, this is a touchscreen system. You can use the toggle, but just the same, well, click right there. Now, this is one area I like quite well. With the audio system, I'm able to actually use the central control and scroll through. Now, the only thing I didn't really like is pretty much when you do select the area, it goes back to the audio source instead of really just staying on this screen. That's one feature I'd like all the time, is just being able to scroll up and down when I want to pick a different station. The climate control system couldn't be any simpler. Pretty much 3 oversized knobs, all nice and symmetric. Temperature select, fan speed, and of course your mode. Now down below, I like the fact we have heated seats, 3 different levels, and you do have some connectivity down below, 2 USB ports and our auxiliary jack. 50 years of nostalgia definitely plays in here on the gauge cluster, keeping the old analog tachometer right there front and center. Definitely watching those RPMs as you stomp the gas. If you want to look for speed, well, kind of dive in over there on the right side. That'll keep you up to date of, well, at least how fast you're going. One thing that came in handy was the blind spot awareness, which you can turn on and off, but I'm not sure why you would. Everything really coordinates quite nicely with the side mirrors, alerting you when someone's there.